I'll just wait one more moment. People are still joining, so we'll just wait. So, namaste everybody, and thank you for joining me in this part 6 of how to awaken your mind. Because COVID-19 has reached its second wave here in India, I'm back now in my room, and we had to leave the Bodhicitta Centre for the time being. Before the end of this course, then hopefully we'll be back. But I hope all of you are staying safe and making sure you're washing your hands, keeping social distance, wearing masks. All of these are extremely important at the moment. We thought that when we reached 2021 and we got the vaccine, it might be better, but it's not at the moment. So please, all of you, be careful, yeah? So in the last 2 sessions, I was talking about things that stopped us from awakening our mind. So in the next few sessions, I want to talk about things that are going to help us to awaken our mind. So the first thing I want to talk about in this session is about having the right understanding and the right clear view. You know, it's one thing to go down a path, but if we don't have no clear view of where we're going down the path and what obstacles we're going to come across down the path, and we may not know what the final goal of the path is, but at least we need to have a skillful view, a skillful or wise understanding about what we're doing going down the path. You know, if we have a wrong view, then most definitely it's going to take us down a wrong path. So we need to make sure that we're going in the right direction. If you're going down a path and you have completely the wrong view, you're misunderstanding exactly what's going on as you're going down the path, you're being held by your attachments and your biases and discriminations, and you're just seeing the world as you want it to be and not as it should be, then, you know, all of these things are going to be obstacles on the path. All of these things are going to stop you from going down the right path. So we need to have a clear view. So the clear view that we tend to talk about in Buddhism is that we understand that life has its sufferings, its discontentments, its dissatisfactions, and a lot of that emotional and psychological suffering is caused by ourselves. We need to understand that, and I've spoken a little bit about that at the beginning of this course, and I'll keep on talking about you know, mentioning that, okay, this is where we cause ourselves a lot of emotional suffering. So the first part of having a clear view is to understand that a lot of our emotional suffering comes from ourselves. It's no good looking elsewhere, because a lot of it we're causing ourselves. And a lot of that comes from having a wrong view and misunderstanding the way life is, the way the world is. So I'm not going to talk about that today in full, because I'll mention it as we go from one session to another. Another thing that I spoke about over the last 2 sessions was impermanence. We need to understand that everything is impermanent. If we don't understand that, what happens is we become attached. We have these clinging desires, and they just cause a huge amount of suffering for us. So I did speak about that before, and it will come up again and again, because in Buddhism we talk a lot about impermanence, trying to, you know, get that penny to drop, that You may have something now and you may love this thing now, but it's not going to last. You know, it's going to break, it's going to change, something will happen to it or something will happen to you. Nothing is permanent, everything is forever changing, flowing like a river. So we need to have that view, that understanding that everything is impermanent. So the one thing that I do want to talk about today, and that is cause and effect. It's so important that we understand cause and effect. A lot of the time we think things are destiny, they're destined to happen. Or we think that, oh, it must be karma from a past life, so I'll just accept that that is going to happen. Or we just think that it's some God or some higher being who's just saying, okay, now this will happen to you, this will happen to you. All of those things are causing us not to take responsibility for our lives. It is so much easier. I understand that it's easy to blame people. You know, it's much harder to look at ourselves and think, okay, I had a role to play in this. What is my role? I need to take responsibility. When we're thinking, oh, it's my destiny, or it's my karma, or it's God's will, then what we're doing is we're washing our hands of any responsibility. If we do that, there is no way that we're going to learn, that we're going to grow, we're going to change, we're going to become that best possible person that we can be. It will never happen if we're delegating all responsibility to other things. So if you believe in destiny, okay, it's fine. I'm not going to try and change your belief there. If you believe that, you know, from life to life we take these buckets full of karma and they keep following us from life to life, if you believe that, then fine, that's up to you. You know, I'm not trying to change people's beliefs. If you believe in a God, okay, that's fine. If you believe in a God and you think God metes out justice to us, then fine. But what I'm going to be talking about here is how we can take responsibility for our lives, how we can take responsibility for our actions. And when I talk about our actions, I'm talking about our actions of body, speech and mind. Now, of course, you will say a cause and effect. Yeah, I can understand when we do actions of body maybe, and I understand actions of speech, but hang on, how does actions of mind, you know, how does that cause an effect? How is there any effect from that? Well, of course there is, because first we think and then we act. So before we do any of our actions of body and speech, it starts off as a thought. Now, that thought may be a conscious thought, or it may be an unconscious thought, but it's a thought. Everything stems from the thoughts in our head. We don't just suddenly go off and just magically do something. There will be a thought that starts that process and then we do the action. So our thoughts and our mind does have a role to play when we're talking about cause and effect. So we need to understand that all of our actions, even if it's just mental actions and not physical or verbal action, all of those have a role to play. If we can understand the cause and effect, if we can understand that what we do is going to cause something else to happen, there's going to be some effect from that. Now, whether that effect is going to affect me or whether it affect other people, we need to first of all understand that every action we do, there will be a consequence. Now, if you go out and murder somebody, there'll be a consequence. You'll be caught, you'll be put in prison, you'll be punished for that, and quite rightly so. So, cause and effect. You murdered somebody, the effect is that you're now sitting in jail. Those type of causes and effects are easy for us to see. But it doesn't always work that way. We can't always think, oh, okay, this happened because of this. because it may be a long time down the road before those consequences come into play. They may come in straight away, they may come in within a month, within a year, but they will come in. Now here, when I'm talking about causes and consequences, I'm talking about this lifetime, okay? I'm not talking about past lifetimes or future lifetimes. I'm talking about this one, the one we're living right now. This is the most important one. If we had a previous life, it is now finished. We can do nothing about it. If we're going to have a future life, then it's not here yet, so we can't do anything about it. So it leaves us with this life. And this is the life that we can do something about. We can change, we can grow, we can become better people. So by understanding causes and effects, so if we understand that if we do good things, if we do kind, caring, compassionate things, then of course the consequences are going to be good. We're going to have a good future, this life future. And if we go around cheating people and stealing and verbally and physically abusing people, then of course we're not going to have such a good future. Now here I'm not saying that if you do everything good in your life, the whole of your life is going to be good, because life is not like that. We all know that. We all know that life has its ups and it also has its downs. That's all part and parcel of life. But when life is going up, we don't tend to look at the causes and effects of it because we just enjoy it. But when it goes down, when something happens and where life takes a bit of a dive, at that point, then we start looking for answers. And if we can't find any answers, then we'll blame other people. If there's nobody to blame, then we're going to blame karma or destiny or God's will. But we'll always find somebody to blame. But sometimes there is nobody to blame. Because what I do will not only affect me, it will affect other people. What other people do, it will affect them and it will affect me. So what we do affects others and what they do affects us. So we can't just say that this thing happened because I did that. Because your causes and conditions and my causes and conditions and everybody else's causes and conditions all come together in like a huge great spider's web. And so it's hard for us to say, this is why this happens. So sometimes we have no idea why it happens. It may be that we made a decision. We could have gone left or we could have gone right. We went left and then I had an accident. Maybe if I'd have gone right, I wouldn't have had an accident. Who knows? But because I made a decision, I made a choice, I went left. But it isn't just about me. The other person there who had an accident, the weather, the condition of your car, the condition of the road, all these things come together as causes and conditions. So you will never find just one cause of anything. Because if there is only one cause of that thing would have to be permanent and it could never ever change. Because if it's only made of one thing, there is no change in that one thing. Nothing else can join it, nothing else can go away from it because it's only one thing. So there is never just one cause. So why we talk about causes and conditions in Buddhism is for us to understand that whatever we do is going to affect us and other people. So we should try to be the best, kindest, compassionate person that we can be. It also stops us playing that blame game. It makes us sit back and say, okay, sometimes we never know why something happened. And it's okay not to know. I mean, I know inside that we love control and we love to think that we have control. But actually, we don't have an awful lot of control. And if you want a little bit of proof about that, then look back to last year, the beginning of last year. Happy New Year, 2020. We're all going to have 2020 vision. Everything's going to be perfect. And then within like 3 months, our whole world just collapsed and turned upside down. And all of those plans and all of those things that we thought we were going to be able to control, we lost control. And we were locked in our rooms for a period of time. And some people are still being locked in their rooms for a period of time. So it shows that it's not all about us. There are things that we can do that are going to help and smooth out our path in life. And that's to be kind, to be compassionate, to be caring. And I don't just mean these words lightly. I really mean that, we should be kind to everybody, even if they don't fit into our identity circle, even if they, not the type of person we usually like to mix with. It doesn't matter, because they're a human being. So we should be kind, we should be caring, we should have compassion for them. Remember, all these things are about them and not about their behaviour. We're not looking at their behaviour, we're looking at them as a human being. So when we live our life like that, trying to help people, trying to be kind, trying to be compassionate, then of course the consequences of that are going to be good. So our life can be quite peaceful and quite stable. There still will be dips, but it's okay, because we're living our life the best we can. So of course we do have a role to play, but we have to understand that everybody else's causes come in to affect our lives as well. So it's not all in our hands. If we lived in a bubble, and maybe during this pandemic living in the bubble seems like a good idea, but if we lived in a bubble and nobody else could come into that bubble, then of course everything you did would affect just you. So then you did good, then you'd have a good life, because there was only you, this one person in that bubble. But unfortunately, we have a massive bubble called the world, and there are like nearly 7 billion people now, and all of those causes and conditions are all overlapping each other, and all, like I say, causing this big, huge spider's web of causes and conditions. So we need to understand that things don't just magically appear. We have to understand that there has to be some causes. So, just think about it a moment. If you plant a rice seed, what do you expect to get from that? Rice. You don't expect to get a mango tree. I mean, nobody expects to plant a rice seed and get a mango tree, or vice versa. So, causes and conditions. The causes and conditions have to be there for rice to appear. One of them is we have to have the rice seed. Then the conditions, good soil, water, sunlight, all these things, and farmers to look after it, all these things then make the rice grow from that little seed. But you plant a rice seed, you'll get rice. You plant a mango, is it mango seed? You plant a mango, whatever it is, and you get a mango tree. So things don't just magically appear. They don't appear because it's our destiny, and they don't appear because it's our past karma. They appear because the causes and conditions were there for them to appear. If you put the rice seed into dry ground and didn't have any water, and there was no good sunlight, and that the soil was really poor, then you're going to get nothing. So we have to have a cause, there has to be conditions, and then there's an end result. And that's with everything in life. So I think I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because it hopefully explains the whole of this process of causes and conditions. And things are not just about karma and destiny or God's will. So there's this lady, she gets up every day at the same time, and she has a routine, and she walks down the road at the same time, and she goes across the other side of the road just in time for the bus to come and get her into work on time. Like clockwork, she's been doing this for a long, long time. Then one day she had this electric alarm clock. The power went off during the night. So when the alarm was supposed to go off, it didn't go off. So when she did wake up, she was late. Because she was late, she was running around, rushing everywhere, trying to catch up with time. You know, missed her breakfast, running down the road. She ran across the road because the bus was already there, so she ran across quickly. And a car come and hit her. Now, the man who was driving the car always goes into work an hour later. But today, he had a lot of work to do, so he left home an hour earlier. His car wasn't in great condition. The windscreen wipers needed changing, his tyres were not very good tyres. The weather, it was starting to rain, the road was getting slippy. So when this woman ran out in front of him, he hadn't got the chance to stop and he skidded and he hit the lady. So look at all of those causes and conditions that came into play for that lady to be knocked down. The alarm didn't go off. There was a power cut, one cause. The alarm didn't go off. She was late. She was running. She was trying to catch the bus because she was late. The guy who was in the car was coming early. That's a cause. He didn't look after his car. That's another cause. It was raining. That's another cause. All of those causes and conditions all come together for that person to be knocked down. But when that person is knocked down, who are they going to blame? She's going to blame the driver. The driver is going to say it was her fault. But nobody is going to be able to look at all those causes and conditions that come into play. So we can't just say it was her destiny to be knocked down, or it was her karma and it was his karma or his destiny to knock somebody down. Or she did something to him in a past life, so he knocked her down now just to even it out. I mean, all these stories, people tell these stories. Yeah? It was about a whole web of causes and conditions. If you haven't heard this before, or if you haven't really understood it before, I would ask you to sit and think about it. If you have time today, just sit and think about various things that have gone on in your life, because that's the best way. You know, I've just told that story, but you have your own stories. Look back over something that happened to you and look back at you, or pointed the finger and you blamed them, but then look carefully. What is your role in that? You had a role in it. We all have a role in what's happening. So what was your causes? What was their causes? What was the causes of the weather and the conditions and other people? Have a look. Because once you have a look and then you understand, okay, I get it, that things don't just magically appear. They have to come through causes and conditions. I'm not being knocked down or whatever it is because it was my karma. It's because of causes and conditions. All of these will stop you from blaming other people for your life. All of these will give you the responsibility. You know, one reason why I was brought up a Christian, and one reason I didn't like it was because it's God's will. So everything always went upstairs to God, and I didn't like that. And when I found Buddhism and it was about taking responsibility for my life, then I liked that. Then I thought, oh, that's a good thing. And this is a good example of how we can take responsibility for our lives. If you learn to take responsibility for your life, you'll learn how to change. If you don't, then you're just going to go through life blaming and you'll never grow. You'll never really see. Remember what I started off talking about, that we need the right understanding and have the right view so we can be going down the correct path here. If your view is wrong, if you think it's all about God's will and destiny or karma, then of course you're going to be going down the path in the wrong direction. It'll be taking you away. The whole of this journey to awaken your mind is for you to do. I'm here. I'm just giving you suggestions, talking about different things, you know, hopefully just awakening your mind a little bit, making you think. And we all get stuck in our ways, don't we? We all get stuck in our little belief systems, and we build friends around us who can reinforce that view that we have. And sometimes it takes somebody to come along and just break that and just think, oh, okay, I need to think about this then. Maybe I've been thinking about it in the wrong way. So when we're starting off on this path to awakening, we have to understand that a lot of this suffering, this psychological, emotional suffering, is caused by ourselves. We are the ones that are causing that suffering by the way we live our life and by the way that we misunderstand the way life is. The way that we try to control life, we try to mould life. I want life to be like this, and so that's what I'm looking for. But why should life be like that? There's 7 billion of us. We can't all have life the way we want it. And we do have to understand as well that life will unfold on its own. It doesn't need the human race for it to unfold. You saw again when we were all locked down with the pandemic, early part of last year, all the animals came out and they all started getting back into their natural swing. It's us that are stopping the flow of life by trying to control everything. Life doesn't need us. We need to understand these, get these viewpoints into our head so we can go in the right direction, so we can walk down the right path. Because if your mind is in the wrong direction, if you have wrong views about things or you misunderstand things, then of course you're not going to be able to awaken that mind. So I would ask you to think carefully about what I've spoken about today. I know that if you've never heard it before, it may be a little bit difficult for you to understand. As I've said before, you can always leave comments in wherever you see this. This video will be on all platforms, so whichever platform you're on, leave a comment. I will get back and I will answer it for you. So if you have questions about this, please leave me the question, and I definitely will get back. It might not be instant because I get quite a few, but I will definitely get back to you. I would prefer you, if you have any doubts about things, to always, question me. Always. Don't just blindly believe me just because I'm wearing this shirt and these robes. It doesn't give me the power to be completely right. You can question me, you can ask me, and I'll do my best to clear up your doubts for you. So, thank you for joining me in this session. Think carefully about how things unfold as causes, conditions, effects. All of our actions will have consequences. So we need to ensure that our actions are good, kind, compassionate, caring ones, so then we have good consequences. Thank you very much, and please stay safe. Namaste.